Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're heading way back, embarking on, well, an extraordinary journey, really. We're going to uncover a figure whose name might not be, instantly familiar to everyone listening. But his ancient wisdom profoundly shaped the spiritual, even the philosophical landscape of our world. We're talking about Zarathustra.
Also known as Zoroaster in the Greek tradition, yes.
Exactly, the visionary founder of Zoroastrianism. Just try to imagine stepping back almost 3,000 years. I mean, it's a time so distant, it's genuinely hard to grasp fully. And while his teachings might be less known today, especially in the modern West, what's truly astonishing, I think, is how significantly they influenced major world religions we're all deeply familiar with.
Right, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam.
Precisely. And his ideas even sort of touched the minds of modern philosophers centuries later. It's a remarkable story, this intellectual and spiritual legacy that, well, often gets overlooked.
It's absolutely a foundational story, and it really demands a deeper look. So our mission today, as we kind of explore the historical sources and the teachings we have, it's to uncover not just the facts of Zarathustra's life, though that's part of it.
Sure.
But also the powerful vision that compelled him and the timeless principles that emerged from his profound insights. Understanding figures like Zarathustra isn't just, historical curiosity.
No, it feels much bigger than that.
It is. It's about recognizing the deep, often hidden roots of so many ideas and ethical systems we almost take for granted today. It genuinely enriches our understanding of, well, the human quest for meaning and moral order.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. To really get a handle on how radical his message was, we need to understand the world Zarathustra was actually born into.
Right. Context is key here.
Scholars place his life somewhere between, 1800 BCE and maybe 1200 BCE.
That's the generally accepted range, yes. And that huge span, it really reflects the challenges historians face. We're dealing with figures from such an early, largely oral tradition.
So pinning down exact dates is tricky.
Very tricky. Was he a contemporary of Abraham, living deep in the Bronze Age? Or perhaps later, maybe closer to the Vedic period in ancient India? This dating mystery itself, it kind of underscores the sheer antiquity of his ideas. We're talking about the dawn of organized spiritual thought here.
And what was that world like? What was he reacting against? He stepped into a world vastly different from ours, right? A landscape dominated by tribal polytheism.
Exactly. Multiple gods.
Yeah.
Often seen as capricious, demanding.
And a big emphasis on ritual sacrifice.
A huge emphasis. Elaborate rituals, sometimes animal sacrifices, were central to religious practice. That was the prevailing spiritual climate. This complex web of deities, specific rituals, and a more, let's say, cyclical view of time and existence.
So what made him break from all that so dramatically?
Well, this is what's truly revolutionary. Amidst this established framework, all these gods, these extensive, often appeasing rituals, Zarathustra seems to have experienced these profound visions.
Ah, the vision.
Yes. And these visions led him to proclaim something fundamentally new. He wasn't just tweaking the existing system. He was introducing a radically different spiritual vision.
Okay.
And this pivotal shift was a focus on a single, supreme God. He named this God Ahura Mazda,
which means
Lord of Wisdom. And what made this so profoundly revolutionary wasn't just the one God aspect, though that was huge.
Right.
It was the nature of Ahura Mazda, benevolent, ethical, that set him apart from the often capricious or demanding deities common in polytheism. It introduced a new moral dimension to divine power. The focus shifted from just appeasement to, well, ethical alignment.
Interesting. So less about keeping the gods happy through sacrifice, more about living right.
Precisely. And this wasn't just a change in the god count or some abstract theological shift. Zarathustra's emphasis was distinct. He really wasn't interested in those elaborate, often costly rituals or the endless sacrifices that dominated the religious life of his time.
So what did he champion instead?
Truth, morality, and personal choice. These became the fundamental pillars of a meaningful life in his view. This focus on individual ethical responsibility rather than just external ceremony. It resonated powerfully then, and you can see how it continues to resonate when we think about the ethical systems guiding us today.
He was asking people to look inward then, not just outward at temples and altars.
Exactly that. Look inward. Examine your thoughts, your words, your actions.
Okay, building on that, the single benevolent God focused on morality. You mentioned the truly groundbreaking aspect was how this God operated within a cosmic worldview defined by dualism. Now, this wasn't just about a new deity, it sounds like a whole new framework for understanding existence itself.
It really was.
So what exactly did this dualism entail? Because people hear dualism and might think of different things. How does his concept differ?
That's a really crucial distinction to make. At the heart of Zarathustra's message is indeed this profound idea of dualism. But it's critical to clarify, this isn't a dualism of two equal, eternally existing powers like you might find in some later Gnostic traditions, where good and evil are maybe seen as perpetually locked in a stalemate.
Okay, so not equal forces.
No. Zoroastrian dualism is fundamentally ethical. It posits a cosmic struggle between two opposing primordial forces. On one side, you have Asha, representing truth, order, light. It's a constructive force associated with the Ahura Mazda, and opposing it is Druj.
Druj, the lie.
Exactly. Embodying the lie, chaos, darkness, the destructive force. But importantly, in this framework, Asha is ultimately destined to triumph. Good wins out in the end.
Ah, okay, so it's a dualism with a hopeful resolution.
Precisely. It demands active human participation rather than just passive observation of this cosmic fight.
Right, so this cosmic struggle isn't happening like off in some distant heaven while we just watch.
Quite the opposite.
Humanity is called to participate, to take a side.
Explicitly. We're called to stand firmly on the side of truth and goodness, on the side of Asha. And this isn't achieved passively, just by believing. It's achieved through conscious, deliberate choice in our lives.
And to help people make those choices, he laid out some guiding principles. I remember reading about these.
Yes. The three incredibly simple, yet profoundly powerful guiding principles. They form the moral compass of Zoroastrianism.
What's bar?
Good thoughts, that's humara. Good words, hukta. And good deeds, varshta.
Good thoughts, good words, good deeds.
Simple.
Deceptively simple. These aren't just abstract philosophical concepts. They're meant to be lived, breathed, embodied every single moment.
Yeah.
Imagine the depth of a spiritual path that basically boils down to cultivate goodness inside you, express it constructively, act on it ethically.
So every decision matters. Every thought, word, deed. It contributes to the bigger picture, to the triumph of Asha.
That's the idea. It makes morality an active daily engagement, not just a set of rules you tick off a list.
And underpinning all of this, you mentioned his unwavering belief in free will. Absolutely central. He taught that every human being has the inherent ability, the capacity, to choose between good and evil, between Asha and Druj.
It's not predetermined then.
Not at all. It's a constant active engagement with the world. He essentially placed the ultimate responsibility and the power for shaping one's own destiny squarely on the individual.
That's remarkably empowering and maybe a bit daunting, especially for such an ancient time.
It is. And this emphasis on free will, on the individual's power to choose, it means our choices directly shape not only our personal destiny, our own spiritual path.
Right, our own soul's journey.
Exactly. But also, collectively, they shape the destiny of the entire world. It suggests human action isn't just about personal salvation. It's about actively participating in this cosmic drama, helping to tilt the scales towards light and order.
So every ethical decision, however small it seems, is actually a significant act in this grander design.
That's the profound responsibility Zarathustra placed on humanity.
What's truly remarkable, then, is how this vision extended beyond just personal ethics. You said he described a grand cosmic struggle, a universal story where good would ultimately, definitively, triumph over evil.
Yes, a story with a hopeful ultimate conclusion.
Which was a pretty revolutionary idea back then, and one that, as you mentioned, deeply influenced the Abrahamic faiths later on. Can you elaborate on those specific concepts he introduced, the ones that had such a lasting impact?
This is where Zarathustra's thought really becomes like a blueprint, you could say, for future faiths. He introduced these powerful concepts that would resonate across millennia, profoundly influencing Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Think about the spiritual landscape before him. Often cyclical time, maybe less defined afterlives.
Right.
Zarathustra introduced a linear narrative of cosmic history. It had a beginning, a middle struggle, and a definitive end, a judgment, and a final restoration. This whole narrative arc fundamentally reshaped how people understood their place in the universe and the purpose of their actions.
So what were some of those key points in the narrative?
Well, specifically, he spoke of judgment after death. The idea that souls are weighed by their deeds, facing the consequences of their life choices.
Okay, the weighing of souls.
Then came the vivid concepts of heaven and hell. Not just vague notions, but quite real destinations or states of being, as direct consequences of your choices for Asha or Druj.
Consequences for your actions in life.
Direct consequences. And then there's this grand climactic concept, Frashokereti.
Frashokereti.
Yes, the final renewal of the world. An ultimate victory where evil, Druj, will be utterly defeated and all of creation restored to a state of perfection and harmony, back to its ideal state under Ahura Mazda.
Wow. That's a huge framework. Judgment, heaven, hell, final restoration.
Exactly. This provided a spiritual framework, a narrative arc for human existence that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam would later build upon, adapt, and integrate into their own eschatology, their teachings about the end times.
So it really isn't an exaggeration to say these concepts provided a kind of spiritual vocabulary that permeated future religious thought.
Not at all. The impact was profound and lasting.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly then to some of the sacred symbolism within the Zoroastrian tradition itself. One of the most recognizable symbols, the one people often associate with it, is fire.
Fire is central.
It became central to their practice, instantly recognizable. But it's really crucial to clarify a common misconception here. They don't worship the fire itself as a god, do they?
That's absolutely correct, and it's an essential clarification to make. Fire, in Zoroastrianism, does not replace Ahura Mazda. It isn't a deity.
So what is it then?
It serves as a powerful, visible symbol, a sign of divine purity, of truth, of the light and energy of Ahura Mazda. Think of it as a focal point, something that helps the worshiper connect to the divine. Much like light often represents enlightenment or the divine presence in other traditions.
Like a conduit, a reminder.
Exactly. A sacred presence that reminds adherents of the constant presence and wisdom of the Lord of Wisdom, Ahura Mazda.
And this symbolic use is, well, beautifully expressed in the practice of fire temples. Places where sacred flames have been kept burning for centuries, maybe even millennia, right up to today.
That's right.
Keeping a flame burning that long, that's quite a testament to devotion, isn't it? But seriously, what do these fire temples and the flames within them signify for followers today?
Indeed, that persistence really underscores the profound symbolism. These aren't places where people are adoring the physical flame itself. They are sanctuaries. The eternal flame symbolizes the constant, unwavering flame of wisdom, the perpetual presence of Ahura Mazda in the world.
A physical manifestation of a spiritual truth.
Precisely. A continuous link to the divine. It fosters an environment of purity, of contemplation. The flame itself is a constant reminder of that inner light, the spark of Asha that we are all called to nurture within ourselves.
So when we talk about true worship in Zarathustra's teachings, it loops back to those core principles we discussed earlier.
It really does. It's not primarily about elaborate rituals or material offerings to the fire temple, however revered that space is. Fundamentally, true worship is about living your life in harmony with Asha.
Good thoughts, good words, good deeds again.
Exactly. Embodying truth, practicing righteousness, aligning yourself with the natural and moral order in every single daily act. That's the deepest, most authentic form of devotion. That's the true expression of reverence for Ahura Mazda.
Now, despite this incredible historical and philosophical impact we've been talking about, Zoroastrianism today is practiced by, well, relatively small communities, isn't it?
Numerically, yes, compared to the major world religions it influenced.
You find these guardians of this ancient tradition mainly in Iran, their historical homeland, and also significantly in India, where followers are known as Parsis.
That's correct. The Parsi community in India has been particularly instrumental in preserving the traditions.
But despite its current size, its legacy, as we've seen, is truly enormous. Can we just recap some of those key enduring concepts and how they really became integral to global spiritual thought?
Absolutely. And it's worth recapping because these concepts are so fundamental now, it's easy to forget their ancient origins, or at least their early articulation by Zarathustra.
Okay.
We're talking about the revolutionary idea of monotheism itself, worshiping one supreme, benevolent God.
A huge shift.
They're the concept of a definitive judgment day, where each individual is held accountable. The structured ideas of heaven and hell as consequences, the existence of angels or similar spiritual beings acting as messengers or intermediaries, and maybe most fundamentally, this inherent struggle between good and evil that defines the human condition and demands our active participation. These ideas demonstrably entered and shaped the narratives, the theology, the very structure of many world religions, tracing back to Zarathustra's groundbreaking vision.
It's incredible. And it wasn't just religious thought, was it? You mentioned philosophers, too.
That's right. It's also worth briefly touching on the perhaps surprising influence Zarathustra, or at least the idea of him, had on secular thought much later. Philosophers like Nietzsche, for instance.
Nietzsche. How did he connect with Zarathustra?
Well, he famously used Zarathustra's name and symbolism in his work. Thus spoke Zarathustra. He appropriated him as a symbolic figure for his own radical philosophical concepts, the Übermensch, the will to power, the revaluation of all values.
But probably in a very different way than Zarathustra intended.
Oh, absolutely. Nietzsche often took him far from his original religious context. He used him more as a metaphor for breaking free from traditional morality and heralding a new kind of human. But the very fact that Nietzsche, a titan of modern Western philosophy, chose Zarathustra, it shows the enduring power and symbolic weight of this ancient prophet. He saw him as a symbol of profound, transformative thought.
So whether interpreted religiously or philosophically, Zarathustra really stands as this profound prophet of light. His teachings are a powerful reminder, aren't they? That our thoughts, our words, our deeds, those basic choices we make every single day, they aren't trivial.
Not at all.
They genuinely shape our personal destiny, our individual spiritual course. And collectively, they contribute to the destiny of the entire world, influencing that ongoing cosmic struggle for Asha, for good. It's a powerful call to personal responsibility, but with potentially global implications.
Very powerful call.
So bringing this right back to today, to you listening now in the 21st century, what does all this mean? Well, it means the core lessons from Zarathustra's ancient wisdom are actually surprisingly relevant and deeply empowering.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds us that truth does matter, that our choices, however small they might seem in the moment, carry real weight. And that even in a world that often feels incredibly complex, maybe chaotic, we can consciously, deliberately choose to stand on the side of goodness. We can align ourselves with Asha.
And the practical application doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't require grand gestures or, retreating from the world. Zarathustra's wisdom can be found in simple daily acts. Acts of kindness, speaking with integrity honestly, approaching the world and its challenges with a foundation of good intentions. Choosing compassion over cynicism, maybe. It's about embodying those three principles. Humata, hukta, farshta. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds in your everyday interactions. Recognizing that each one contributes something positive to the larger balance.
Little ripples adding up.
Exactly. Adding up to tilt the balance towards Asha. So, maybe a final thought for you to consider, based on everything we've discussed today.
Okay.
Based on what you've learned about the profound power Zarathustra attributed to good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, and knowing their potential impact, not just on your personal destiny, but on the world around you. What intentional act of goodness, maybe one you hadn't considered before this deep dive, will you choose to embody today?
That's a truly powerful thought to carry with you, something tangible to take away. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the extraordinary wisdom of Zarathustra. Keep those good thoughts, good words, and good deeds flowing. And we'll catch you next time for another profound exploration right here on the Deep Dive.